George Wallace, a name synonymous with staunch segregationist policies of the mid-20th century, would find a peculiar echo of his ideologies in a place least expected: the progressive policies of modern-day, blue state, school districts. It's a bizarre twist of fate to see these so-called progressives unwittingly mirroring tactics from an era many have strived to leave behind. To bridge racial achievement gaps, schools like Evanston Township High School in the Chicago area are encouraging Black and Latino students to opt into racially segregated classes, an approach that Wallace, notorious for his segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever stance, would have likely applauded. This initiative exemplifies the rising trend of affinity groups in educational settings, where students are grouped by common identities, including race. This approach marks a notable evolution in educational philosophy, influenced substantially by critical race theory and its focus on skin color in educational practices. This focus is part of a broader strategy in preparing future educators to address racial disparities in their teaching, but it may inadvertently minimize the importance of other significant elements that contribute to academic disparities, such as cultural differences and varying levels of initial academic preparedness. Despite the intention to mirror student demographics, the emphasis on hiring more minority teachers has not markedly improved academic outcomes for minority students. Instead, these equity-based approaches risk lowering academic standards, sidelining high achievers, and exacerbating racial divisions. In stark contrast, schools like Alabama's Piedmont City Schools demonstrate that focusing on individual student needs rather than their racial background can lead to substantial improvements. They've successfully improved math scores by tailoring instruction to address specific academic weaknesses identified through test scores. This approach highlights the effectiveness of skill-based, personalized education over race-based policies. Adopting tactics reminiscent of segregation under the banner of progressivism deepens the very divides that progressives aspire to close. Maybe it's time for these people to revisit the vision of Martin Luther King Jr., who worked towards a society where people are valued for their character rather than their skin color. The move towards racially segregating students, even with the best intentions, appears to be a regression from the inclusive, unified society envisioned by King. I am increasingly convinced that the key to genuine educational progress lies in valuing our shared humanity and addressing the individual needs and talents of each student, without regard to skin color. George Wallace's segregationist history serves as a somber reminder because it warns us of the risks of inadvertently repeating the mistakes of history. Faced with the shadow of George Wallace's policies, are our current educational strategies truly honoring King's legacy? How can we close achievement gaps without inadvertently reinforcing social and racial divides? And do we have the courage to forge an educational path that genuinely transcends race, one that celebrates and nurtures every student's unique abilities? The current trend of segregating students by race, despite good intentions, seems to deviate from the society King aspired to build. In our efforts to advance and be progressive, are we not risking a regression to a past defined by division?